Watching our program yesterday, we interviewed Public Enterprises Minister Lynn Brown, and she said she intervened in the troubled South African Airways, replacing most of its board and stating her preference for an equity partner and a way out of its troubles. Now, South African Airways has deep financial problems and is not considered a going concern, and its board has been torn apart by infighting for the past 2 years, and the changes to the board took place at a special general meeting convened on Thursday, in which 6 non-executive directors resigned and a 7th was removed. In an exclusive interview with PM News, Ms Brown had indicated her intention to remove the 7, 6 of whom have been at loggerheads with chairperson Gugu Myeni, and they accused Ms Myeni of altering board decisions, of poor governance, and of failing to attend board meetings. Now, for analysis on this matter, we are joined by David Shapiro, who is Director of Sesfin Securities. Thank you very much for joining us, David.
It's a pleasure, Colin.
Yeah, infighting is a common problem, rather common problem for many corporates across the world. So SAA is not quite a unique example here. What is really needed for state parastatals and the corporate South Africa to really deal with the issue of infighting within board members?
You know, infighting, I mean, it all comes down to the appointment of the board, and I think that I have differing views on the whole subject. I think that these are businesses and should be run as businesses, and you need professional boards. I think perhaps there's just too much political interference in the running of these some of these parastatals. I can understand that the government has got a financial interest in these companies and obviously needs to keep a watchful eye over it, but I think at the end, remember, SAA is competing with international carriers. Even internally, there's some very efficient organizations here. So you have to have a board that is thinking in a business way, and I think the same applies to other organizations like Eskom as well. You know, we have to adopt business-type strategies there. And once you get infighting, it just tears the business apart, and of course, it's not only, you know, it's not good for the shareholders themselves, which are government, but also for the consumers. So I think we have to address this. Maybe we need to have partnerships with business, bring in professionals as well, and begin to share the business as we have done over time with a lot of businesses, and so on. Telkom is now starting to turn in the right direction. Remember, Sasol and other companies like that were government-owned at one stage, and Sasol certainly is a very, very successful business today. So I think that we have, I am a businessman, I am a capitalist, I am a stockbroker, and I would like to see these organizations proudly run.
Yeah, but what seems to be the problem here with parastatals needing bailouts in the form of equity injection? I mean, do we have a problem with management, or is there something wrong with fundamentals that have been put in place and operations?
The fundamentals are not wrong, because I think South Africa, I travel quite a bit simply. I have family all over the world. I also travel back to Cape Town and back for business and so on. And the planes are always full. So there's always people needing to travel. In fact, Colin, if you do the numbers on air travel globally, they're going up as more and more people travel. So it's not a matter of the number of passengers. What is the problem is management's application, their dedication. You mentioned in the introduction that people don't attend board meetings. You can't just once you're a board member, just say I'm a Mynheer and I'm going to get my fees. You actually have to fulfill your fiduciary duties by managing the company and contributing. And it's a big task today to be a member of a board, to be a director. There's a huge duty and obligation, and you have to fulfill that.
That's what we expect from any board member of any organization, and SAA is not the only bad boy here. I mean, Eskom has its own ups and downs, and of course, in his medium-term budget speech statement on Wednesday, Minister Nene said, let me quote here to remind our viewers, capital injections for state-owned companies will be allocated without impacting on the budget deficit on conditions that sound business plan is in place. I end the quote. So do we have sound business plans and the money to to do
we
real
don't
business
have
here.
the money. That's the problem. If we did have the money, then he wouldn't be talking about increasing tax charges. And I think this is where the taxpayer starts to object, simply because you will be paying more for their inefficiencies. We don't want to do that. Now, these are businesses that can be run profitably with the right kind of management and the right kind of approach. But you need to adopt a very, very strong plan. And you have to forget about hurting people. It might cause layoffs. It might cause management changes. So you've got to take your political hat off. I suppose we could say the same for the SABC. We could say the same for SAA. These companies need to be profitable. And we just seem to be throwing a lot of money, which is your money, my money, into this big pot. So it's not affecting the budget, but it's coming from somewhere. So it's got to be coming from the budget. That's why even Eskom, they want to sell the family jewels. They want to sell their holding in Vodacom, which is a very successful business, in order to fund Eskom, simply that they haven't got the ability to keep raising money. So I think there's a lot that we can do. Myeni, I think he was great. I think he sent the right message. I think he was a very impressive man and a very impressive speech. But now we have to fulfill and carry out what he's got to carry out. I don't want to say his threats, but his plans.
For your insightful analysis on the issue of the current state of parastatals in the country. Mr. David Sapiro is director at Assessment Securities, talking to us right here on PM News Business. Now, moving on, the